Hello, guys and gals, me, Mutahar, and Meta is dying. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that they keep rebranding themselves into something stupid. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that I have a bias against Meta, against Facebook. I think Facebook is a carefully crafted MKUltra mind-op that actually turns most of society into raging dipshits. But then again, I think most social media does that. It's kind of like saying water is wet, or don't download that shady thing in your email, don't click on that link. You know, it should really just be common sense. But Facebook is one of those things where I actually constantly question what kind of value or service it provides. Because look, like most big tech companies, I can at least find value in a million things. Google has a billion cloud services that I actually use, like Google Drive and Stadia. I don't know. Google makes a bunch of stuff that, frankly, you know, because they make it for free, I give up some of my data because, frankly, I use Drive, I use Gmail, I use a lot of their services. Look, as much as I hate Windows 11 and Microsoft, I can fully admit that the operating system has a usable, need to it. Whether you're editing videos, whether you just want something in the PC space that works, or you want to play the brand new games using the brand new graphical technologies that are only powered natively on Windows, I can understand the use case, okay? Microsoft Windows, as much as I hate it, is an actual usable OS for 99.9% of the people in the world right now. While I am a Linux user, I find the value to it. Facebook is a service, Facebook is a company that I don't understand what it actually provides when you look at the vast array of social media that exists, from Twitter to TikTok and whatnot. Facebook doesn't really add anything new to the table. As far as a lot of these companies go, their hardware selections are actually quite unique. Apple makes a smartphone that frankly works for 99.9% of the people out there. It's a phone that frankly is pretty decent spec-wise, and it's very easy to use. Your grandma could figure it out. And when it comes to, Microsoft, they make tablets, they make Xboxes, they make a lot of devices that people have a genuine use for. With Facebook, as far as I know, all they have is Oculus, and while we're going to get into that a little bit, it's not like they make smartphones or any hardware that's actually worth getting, okay? All they make is a social media service that frankly is dying. Why is it dying? Well, if you've been looking at Meta stock lately, in the last 5 days, it went from $315. Whoa, what is that? No, that's not the EVE Online difficulty curve, okay? No, that's actually Meta stock. Now, why is it that it would drop so sharply to the point to almost 30% and stay stagnant there? In fact, if ever, just slipping even further down. Well, it's because in the last 18-year quest in Facebook's lifespan, we've actually noticed that Facebook's dwindling daily login count is actually shrinking up. Now, if you've been following, Facebook has a lot of users, to the tune of 1.93 billion people logging in each and every single day to Facebook.com. Now, this number has steadily been growing for the last 18 years, until, well, frankly, at the last earnings call, very recently, it showed that the number did not increase. In fact, if anything, it stayed stagnant and went down a little bit. Now, to understand, not all of it is doom and gloom. Facebook has a billion other services out there too, most notably WhatsApp and Instagram. And if we're looking at everything as a whole, if we're trying to be really nice about it, Facebook's, WhatsApp, and their messenger service kind of grew a little bit. In fact, the number who logged in monthly to Facebook seemed to have grown, and the company earned slightly more revenue per user, I guess, if we're gonna go with that. But frankly, Facebook is hitting the fucking curve. If it's something about Facebook, it's something about the world population you have to understand. It has a certain limit, okay? And within that limit exists an even bigger limit of people that actually have internet connectivity and smartphones and free time and the lack of brain cells to use Facebook. Once you realize you've saturated too hard, your growth tends to stop, all right? So none of this is incredibly surprising to me. I don't know why it was surprising, but Facebook is one of those services where it's really aging, okay? It has a lot of competition from a billion other services out there, most notably TikTok, okay? Why do you think is that every service right now, YouTube, Instagram, Reel, has their own version of TikTok? If you go on YouTube, they're really pushing shorts right now. Why? Because a lot of people use TikTok. A lot of people watch short form content on TikTok. Me, an empath, realizes the average attention span is only a minute long. People are watching short-form video content, and the de facto platform is in fact TikTok. If it's not YouTube Shorts, it's Instagram Reels. It's whatever you want to look at in the market that is trying to copy what TikTok has. The 1-minute short-form video content. That's something that's becoming real popular on every side of social media. But Facebook wasn't betting on video, they were betting on the metaverse. Now, I've never understood metaverse technology personally. I've never understood why we're trying to coin this term as something unique when metaverses have existed since time immemorial. Okay, if you want to look at metaverses, we've had things like Second Life. We've had things like there.com. I would wager to say that World of Warcraft even would be considered a metaverse by my logic, because it allows users to create an avatar, log into an online world, and actually communicate with each other. There are people that I know who played World of Warcraft who had no intention of actually playing the game, they just wanted to hang out and do stupid shit with their friends. Games like Grand Theft Auto would probably be considered a metaverse if we look at their online component. It allows you to make an avatar and converse with people on a social manner. But hey, that's just my loose definition of it. Metaverses are not exactly new. There have been online social gathering hubs long before this massive new craze of blockchain and metaverse exploration. VR technology, while it might be new and bludgeoning, the actual concept of being in metaverses is not brand new. Okay, we've had this for a long time. Now that being said though, I always envisioned metaverses in the minds of Google Glasses. Way back in the day, Microsoft made this video known as the HoloLens demo, which if you ever were at E3, basically by wearing Microsoft's HoloLens, you could actually view your Minecraft game world, your Minecraft session in augmented reality, which is basically like wearing a special pair of glasses that project your virtual environment onto the actual real world. I always envisioned that, like, if we had a metaverse, this would be it, okay? It's kind of like the Blade Runner scenario, you know? Where once you put on your cool little glasses, all the advertisements and fucking images and everything display in your actual world. Have you ever actually used a virtual reality headset like a Vive or an Oculus device? It sucks when you're just jumping into it. It's uncomfortable. There's a reason why I personally cannot play VR longer than an hour at most, because it gets sweaty, it gets annoying, alright, and frankly, it doesn't exactly throw me into the land of immersion as much as I would lead myself to believe. We're still way out from technology having the rendering resolutions that's properly going to bring you into that scenario, and if Mark Zuckerberg believes that we're going to have meetings in the future using this current VR technology, he's got a lot coming to him. Now, there's a reason why HoloLens doesn't actually work in the real world, and frankly, that's because if you look at the fucking pricing tier for this, $4,749 for that goddamn headset. In fact, if you go up to the industrial edition, which is basically corporate speak of, how much can we charge you? $6,389. In fact, one of these pricing tiers just asks you to get a quote, which means it's way too expensive. But then again, this is the technology right now. To have that cool metaverse technology, we're like 10 years out from it becoming even reasonably affordable for the average Andy. Remember, right now, these things still have to be researched and developed. What you're paying for here is Microsoft's ticket to research this technology even further, which is why they're only catering to the most like corporate levels out there, people that have this kind of warbucks to spend on stuff like this. The metaverse is not here. You got like 10, maybe 12, maybe 15 years at the most before it becomes mainstream. I don't know why Mark rebranded his company and caused a near 30% stock drop, okay? That shouldn't have happened. Now, like Japan's population that's actually dwindling with low birth rates, Facebook's population is getting older, and they're not actually doing anything to bring somebody into their actual platform. Whatever Facebook is doing is not enough to gather all the new kiddos, the younger population, into actually using Facebook. You know, people like me grew up looking at Facebook rise. People like me have stopped using Facebook. Your great-grandmother might actually use Facebook to communicate with people around the world, joining random pages and boards as she sees fit. You know, but the younger population does not care too much. Facebook is a hell to navigate. For instance, I didn't know this until I actually jumped in, but Facebook has a lot of actual ways to watch online video content, or live streams, or whatever. And to understand and show you why younger people aren't using this, let's look at Facebook's dogshit UI. Even on the PC, let's say if you wanted to watch speedrunning content, you type that shit in, hit enter, and congratulations, it loads up groups, photos, memes, expos. Wait, how do I check it even further? Well, I can click on the little video tab to the left. Already, it ain't too good. Now, of course, there's actually big content creators on this site too, like PewDiePie, apparently verified, who actually gets 1.3 million views on the speedrunning video. But if you actually watch it for a second, let's see how weird and sussy the engagement is. For instance, he's getting 1.3 million views, but only 159 comments and 7.5 thousand likes. How is is it that pulling 1.3 million views, you can have that low of metric involvement? Now, to understand, the way that views are even tabulated on this website, as far as I know, is when you're scrolling through your feed and you just watch a video for like 5 seconds. I believe that's how they calculate a view. It's a pretty shitty way to calculate a view, but it looks nice when you're hitting up advertisers. And if you want to look at Facebook's weird history, literally since 2019, they've actually been in a lawsuit with advertisers regarding potentially gussied up metrics. Now, while Facebook vehemently denies this by saying allegations are without merit and we will vigorously defend ourselves. For instance, the lawsuit cited that in August 2018, when Facebook told the advertisers it had a potential reach of 230 million adults, according to census data cited within the lawsuit, only 170 million were actually using Facebook. That's a pretty big fucking discrepancy if we're actually going to tabulate that. But again, Facebook vehemently denies this. Do I tend to believe Facebook or the actual advertisers? Well, we'll let the actual lawsuit decide that. I don't know when it's going to be decided, but with how these lawsuits operate, it's going to be a couple of years from now on. But I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook was caught being a little sussy-wussy. Again, going back to the situation, Facebook has been implementing a lot of they've basically been investing in online content creation, basically trying to get content creators and actual viewers to their platform. Facebook Gaming has been one such thing. For instance, if you click on their website, you can scroll down and actually find amazing cuckold stories of Battle Royale games. The Sad Story of Noob, heart-touching story. Let's watch this for a second. Oh, god damn, that is a little too hot for the internet right there. Yeah, I would be angry face too. I would be angry emoji if I caught my squad member getting railed by the other one. I'm actually watching Battle Royale cuckoldry going on. Again, you can imagine with a video that has 3.5 thousand comments and around 6.2 thousand shares, how many people would have actually been watching this content? Well, according to Facebook, they've been getting 8.8 million views. Again, the numbers don't exactly make sense, but they never have. Look, I tend to have a pretty common sense view of how these websites operate. You know, typically when you're in the tech sphere, like YouTube or Twitch or even anything, even big tech companies can't compete against people already established. For instance, right now, Twitch.tv is the de facto live streaming website when it comes to gaming. Even companies like Microsoft would have put millions of dollars into services like Mixer, basically poaching some top talent by giving them multi-million-dollar deals. Even Facebook Gaming has done the same, have not actually made a dent in trying to steal some of that viewership. It's honestly a losing game if you're trying to go up against another niche holder in this entire marketplace. People are creatures of habit, and when they watch YouTube content, they know that YouTube is where they're going to watch their long-form videos. They know TikTok is where they're going to watch their short-form videos. They know Facebook is where they're going to watch their 10-year-old fucking memes out of pure nostalgia. That's pretty much how we get down to business. If it's one thing that also doesn't help Facebook whatsoever, it's the fact that Facebook's business model relies on pushing targeted advertising to people. The way that targeted advertising is even pushed on platforms is obviously through spying on the actual user. They take basically what is the data produced on your smartphone and take a variety of factors, a variety of data, process that through and get a good idea of who the actual user is, what they're interested in, what they want to look into. It's a profile that's built on a per user basis. This profile is then used to aggressively target ads to you. Now, one of the largest smartphone producers in the world, Apple, has actually implemented a app tracking transparency feature. Now, if you've actually been using iPhones lately, you've probably come across this screen when it comes to anything regarding Facebook's tools, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp. You'll find this one. Any application will say, hey, allow Facebook to track your activity across companies' apps and websites. Now you have the option to ask the app not to track or allow. Now to understand, when you actually look at this option, most people are probably going to say, I don't want to be tracked. Now when you're not tracked, it's not like you're not going to receive advertisements. When you install Windows, you have the option to disable ad tracking too. That doesn't mean you're not going to get ads. It just means the actual OS is not going to be able to actually accurately track you and give you targeted advertisements. It's just going to give you generic forms of ads. That means for the company that's running the advertisement, it means that you are a person that's not worth advertising to. Because if you're not being targeted the ads that you're probably most likely to succumb to, you're probably not going to enjoy you're probably not going to even be affected by any ad, generic or not, headed towards you. So basically, you're a lose-lose situation for these companies. Basically, because of these features, Facebook has actually tried to shame or even guilt users into actually allowing them to be tracked. For instance, this is one of the warnings you got. Hey, you're on iOS 14.x. This version of iOS requires us to ask for permission to track some data from this device to improve your ads. Again, remember, show you ads that are more personalized. So again, let's say that you're on Facebook or any other service and you Google Dying Light 2. Well, all of a sudden, you might notice, hey guys, Dying Light 2 just came out. You want to buy it for $60? You might succumb to that. You might think, hey, maybe I will buy it. That's targeted advertisement. Now, one of the things that they actually ended up saying was help keep Facebook free of charge. So again, because advertisers realize that, hey, this bevy of this pool of users aren't being targeted as efficiently as they should have, maybe they're not going to pay Facebook, maybe they're not going to run their ad campaigns on Facebook any longer. Again, that's not really viable when Facebook still has a giant market share in the world too, but obviously their value has dwindled because of this feature. So they're going to shame you and say, hey, maybe you want to enable it to keep Facebook free to use. Ladies and gentlemen, Facebook will never become paid to use. The day Facebook requires a subscription fee is the day their numbers tank hard. That's the grim reality. They can't play this bluff, and they know it. For instance, even on Instagram, hey, you want to keep Instagram free of charge? Can we show you ads that are more personalized? Don't give in. Don't cave in to Mark, okay? Mark is not willing to play chicken with you on this, okay? Mark knows that the moment he makes Facebook a $4.99 per month fee to use, nobody's going to be using it. The numbers are going to drop. This is a game of chicken that you most certainly, my friend, will win. And hey, if Facebook does become paid to use, will you pay for it? I'm going to wager 99.9% of my audience probably won't. But hey, I could always be surprised. You know, there's no shock in my mind that Facebook as a platform is dying. And does this truly surprise me? No. Facebook put a big bet on the metaverse technology. Metaverses that frankly aren't unique, and metaverses that are frankly a decade out from being somewhat at the same level as what people are conceiving, or the metaverses that these companies want to accurately push to us. Facebook is a terrible company. Facebook is a terrible product. Facebook is a terrible service. And seeing them wither and die brings me pleasure, but it's also something that I absolutely can tell you does not shock me. It was no surprise that Facebook's actual growth was going to stagnate at some point. It was going to become saturated. And now that it's become saturated and Facebook has had no actual business plan going forward, it's only a matter of time before this company actually dwindles down from big tech to a standard tech company, and whether they can actually pivot and create a product worth revitalizing their company and actually have some level of success that they initially once had. Is Facebook capable of doing that? I don't know. I'm not going to bet against them. I'm certainly not going to bet for them. I'm just going to be watching this dumpster fire from the sideline. That said, though, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. Next time, we talk about encryption.